Hello and welcome to World News Today. Here are the top breaking stories for you. Second whistleblower comes forward in Trump-Ukraine scandal. Trump tweets attacks on Romney as Pompeo defends president, saying it doesn't bother me a leak. Johnson, UK is packing our bags and walking out in 25 days. US-North Korea break of nuclear talks in Sweden after one day. A second whistleblower has come forward with information about President Donald Trump's call with the president of Ukraine, according to attorneys representing that whistleblower and the intelligence official whose earlier complaint set off a series of events culminating in an impeachment inquiry. The second whistleblower has first-hand knowledge of the events, according to attorney Mark said. The July 25th phone call led a U.S. intelligence official to file a whistleblower complaint that set off a cascade of fast-moving events, ultimately leading to an impeachment inquiry into the president. Trump has publicly maintained that call was absolutely perfect and totally appropriate. A description of the call made public by the White House showed Trump asked Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky to look into why Ukraine's top prosecutor had apparently ended an investigation into a Ukrainian gas company that once employed former Vice President Joe Biden's son as a board member. Text messages given to Congress Thursday and released by House Democrats suggest the call was part of a bold effort from Trump and his administration to pressure Ukraine. The text shows U.S. Ambassador working to persuade Ukraine to publicly commit to investigating Trump's political opponents and explicitly linking the inquiry to whether Ukraine's president would be granted an official White House visit. The message offers the fullest picture to date of how diplomats and Trump's personal lawyer Rudy Giuliani sought to advance Trump's goal of getting the Ukrainians to investigate both meddling in the 2016 election and Hunter Biden. The new deals on how Trump's pressure campaign on Ukraine unfolded came as the president publicly called for another foreign country, China, to probe one of his top political opponents. Trump lashed out at the second whistleblower on Saturday amid a day-long effort at defending himself on Twitter. The first so-called second-hand information whistleblower got my phone conversation almost completely wrong. So now word is they are going to the bench and another whistleblower is coming in from the deep state, also with second-hand info. Trump tweeted, met with Shifty, keep them coming. Trump's personal attorney Rudy Giuliani responded to news after another whistleblower on Twitter Sunday morning, saying the swamp media will corruptly fail to point out it means nothing. Now that conversation is public. House Democrats are taking their impeachment inquiry straight to the White House. CBS News has obtained a copy of their subpoena demanding a long list of documents about President Trump's dealings with Ukraine. The deadline to respond is October 18th. This comes as the New York Times reports possible second whistleblower may come forward. Mr. Trump is under pressure as House Democrats hit the White House with a subpoena and demanded a slew of documents from Vice President Mike Pence. In a statement, White House Press Secretary Stephanie Grisham said the subpoena changes nothing and she called the impeachment inquiry a kangaroo court. China should start an investigation into the Bidens, Mr. Trump said Friday. Mr. Trump claims asking foreign governments to investigate former Vice President Joe Biden and his son Hunter is not about politics. I don't care about Biden's campaign, but I do care about corruption, Mr. Trump said on Friday. The impeachment inquiry centers on a whistleblower report of a phone call in which Mr. Trump asked Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky to investigate the Bidens for corruption. Hunter Biden worked for a Ukrainian energy company while his father was Vice President of the United States, but there is no evidence of any wrongdoing. Biden is firing back at Mr. Trump. This guy, like all bullies, is a coward. He does not want to run against me, Biden said Saturday. The New York Times now reports a second intelligence official may come forward with more first-hand knowledge of the president's dealings with Ukraine. You know when this came out in? Was quid pro quo? Well, there was none, Mr. Trump said Friday. Mr. Trump insists he did not withhold $391 million worth of military aid to Ukraine to pressure them to investigate Biden. But text messages provided to Congress this week show his own diplomats thought he did. In one message last month, the top US diplomat to Ukraine, Bill Taylor, wrote, "I think it's crazy to withhold security assistance for help with a political campaign." Traveling in Greece on Saturday, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo downplayed all of it. "Look, nations do this," Pompeo said. "Nations work together and they say, boy, goodness gracious, if you can help me with X, we'll help you achieve Y. It doesn't bother me a lick." Mr. Trump spent his day guffling but also went after Senator Mitt Romney on Twitter, calling him a pompous ass. On Friday, Romney called the president's actions on Biden wrong and appalling. CBS News has learned the White House is shrinking the size of the National Security Council. This will happen largely through attrition. But there is speculation that the president is doing this is part to cut down on leaks. The United Kingdom will be packing our bags and walking out of the European Union in 25 days, Boris Johnson wrote in two British newspapers. Writing in The Sun and the Daily Express, the British Prime Minister reiterated his stance that the UK will be leaving the bloc on October 31st and sought to place on blame squarely on Brussels if there is a no-deal Brexit. He stood by new proposals presented to Brussels earlier this week that the British government says could replace the Irish backstop negotiated during Theresa May's tenure, describing them as a practical compromise. After decades of campaigning, 3 years of arguments, and seemingly endless months of pointless delay, it is now just 25 days until the United Kingdom's membership of the European Union comes to an end. We will be packing our bags and walking out on October 31st. The only question is whether Brussels cheerily waves us off with a mutually agreeable deal or whether we'll be forced to head off on our own, he wrote. European leaders have raised serious concerns about Johnson's new proposals and said that in their current form they are unacceptable to both Brussels and Dublin, a point reiterated Saturday when Johnson spoke to several European Union leaders by phone. Johnson's comments came hours after the EU chief's Brexit negotiator Michael Barnier warned it would be London's responsibility if no deal is struck. He told a Le Monde event in Paris on Saturday that Johnson's proposals do not address some of European Union's core concerns about the integrity of the single market and the future of the Good Friday Agreement for peace in Ireland. If the British government does not come back with new proposals on the two serious problems, the question of customs controls between Ireland and Northern Ireland and London's proposal to have the Northern Irish Assembly vote on a future relationship with the European Union single market, then I do not see how we can advance. But I wish to advance, Barnier said. Working-level nuclear talks in Sweden between North Korea and Washington have broken off after a single day without agreement, Pyongyang's top negotiator said late Saturday, but the White House countered in its own statement that progress was still made. Talks will resume in Stockholm in 2 weeks, the State Department said. The United States and the DPRK will not overcome a legacy of 70 years of war and hostility on the Korean peninsula through the course of a single Saturday. The statement said there are weighty issues and they require a strong commitment by both countries. The United States has that commitment, but North Korea's chief negotiator Kim Myong-gil was less optimistic. After a day in talks with the American delegation, he condemned what he called US inflexibility, complaining that Washington would not give up their old viewpoint and attitude. The negotiators have not fulfilled our expectations and finally broke off, Kim told reporters through an interpreter. They have disappointed us greatly and dampened our enthusiasm by bringing nothing to the negotiation table. Kim did not confirm that it would be attending resumed talks later this month. The talks were the first formal discussion since a failed summit in Vietnam in February of 2018. President Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un had agreed during their historic demilitarized zone meeting in June to give talks another try. That's all from now. Hope you enjoyed our coverage. We'll see you later. Thank you.